Hi, my name is Anthony Calderon, and I am the Chief Technical Officer at SolidCAM. I am excited to show you today the new iMachining feature recognition in SolidCAM 2019. So let's get started. So first thing we'll do is we will turn on the initial updated stock so we can see what's going on. We are going to be using, as I said, the iMachining feature recognition. And what that is we have combined feature recognition from your selections off the model to find the machinable features from those selections. And as you see as I go along, you will see how, we pick a face and it's automatically extended to the stock. It finds the highest point of the stock. If there's any undercuts in the target, it protects against them. And all of this is done automatically to assist in your programming so you can program your parts as fast as you can, and you use your knowledge to pick and choose what features you want to cut with what tools and in what order. And then we try and make everything as easy as possible on you for your geometry selections and to cut out having to create custom sketches in SolidWorks. So first thing we will do is make a 2D iMachining operation. And you can see now in the geometry window, we now have these feature recognition modes. The first one is recognize or feature recognition by faces. And you can see we'll be picking floors to machine. We have feature recognition by chains, which is good for picking side profiles, as you see here, or something that's like a through pocket where you don't have a floor to pick on. We also have outside feature recognition, which cuts the outside of the part from the stock. And then we have chains without feature recognition. So this is the existing mode that's always been in iMachining 2D. And in that mode, you would just pick chains the way you normally do and mark open edges, and there's nothing there going on with stock targets and the feature recognition. So first thing we'll do is if we're working with faces, we have this selection box here. So we will just pick our face we want to machine. So we pick our face. We now want to go pick the tool we want to machine with. We have this 20mm stub. You can see as soon as we've picked the face that we want to machine plus the tool we want to machine, we get this highlight preview. And so this highlight preview shows you the machinable feature from your selections. You can see on this model, on this face, that this face actually has an undercut. And normally if we would have picked just that face, the tool would obviously cut away the undercut. You can see with our machinable feature detection that we've automatically extended it to the stock and we've protected against the feature there. And you can see we've automatically found the upper level, which is the highest point of the stock in that machinable feature, and we've obviously set the lower level from the floor that we selected. And in this case, we're just going to say let's rough and finish this floor, save and calculate, and that is all we had to do to get our first toolpath. Now, as you're going through, you're going to want to do a few things to visualize what's happening. You can check and uncheck your wireframe toolpath. You can check and uncheck your updated stock. You can also disable the preview temporarily. And all these things are so you can help visualize what happened with the toolpath, what did the stock look like, and did it cut it in the way that you expected it to. Now you can also change the updated stock, so you can say it doesn't include this current toolpath. So if you want to see the stock from the very beginning, you can do that. You can see the toolpath that we get here, so you can kind of analyze the toolpath. And then obviously, we probably want to use the new simulator in SolidCAM to simulate our toolpath and see what we get. We'll do it with the recording enabled, so that way we can get our fast scrolling with our scroll bar. So we can zoom in here if we want to drag through our scroll bar, because now we've done our recording. We can analyze what's going on. We can even turn on our toolpath if we want to see, okay, this makes sense. We got the first level. It's cutting this face. Cuts all the way through. We can turn our toolpath back off. And in the end, we ended up getting this this first feature cut. So let's close out our simulation. So we've roughed and we finished this face here. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to cut this through pocket. So we will do our 2D iMachining. In this case, we will switch to multi-tool. This way we can use two tools to rough the pocket and finish it because it has a smaller corner radius. We will switch to our feature recognition by chains, and now we will go pick our geometry. We have our normal chaining as we do in all the operations in SolidCAM. So we just pick our bottom loop, we get the chain from it. We will go to our tool, and we are going to select tool number 1, which is our 20mm stub. You can see we get our preview right away of what we're cutting. I am going to change my pocket depth to like 22mm, just so it cuts a little bit deeper, which we can see the dynamic preview updated. I'm going to go back to my multi-tool, and let me go select my tool 3. So my tool 3 is a 10mm and a shrink fit holder, just like the other tools, but just a smaller version of it. And this one, we are going to say we want to finish the wall. So we will calculate both of our operations. And now you can see let's turn off our preview. So we can see we have our roughing toolpath, which was tool 1, which cleaned out the pocket. And we have all this dynamic preview available to us to visualize what's going on. So we can see the first operation cut. Obviously, as the tool is larger than the corner radiuses, so we get a little extra material there. And then we can also take a look at the second operation, which is doing the finishing. So we can see that the finishing finished the walls. We got our our clean out pass in the corner first, and we'll call that a good operation. Now, an interesting thing to show here is the dynamic feature recognition detection. So let's say I didn't have that first operation in the CAM tree. Let's just say I drug that down here. If I edit the first operation, we can see what happens. The first operation, the upper level goes to the top. And that happens because our updated stock is the initial stock. So it automatically detects the highest point. So as you can see, the operations are entirely dynamic, finding the machinable feature from that current state in your operation cutting. I am not going to save that because we don't want to keep it like that. We will drag our operations back around. We'll calculate all 3 of them. So the first cut, roughing and finishing that ledge. The second cut, which was roughing that pocket, and the last one, which was finishing the wall. So now at this point, if I look at my updated stock, I kind of decide what I want to do. And this is up to you, the user, as you go along. And I'm going to say I want to cut the outside. So I will make another 2D iMachining operation. In this case, I'm going to say I want to cut the outside. Now, when you cut the outside, we automatically find the lowest point of the target, but we want to cut probably a couple millimeters beyond it. And let's just say we're going to go pick another tool. We have this long fluted version of our 20mm tool. We'll pick that. Now that we have a tool and a geometry selected, which is the outside, you can see our blue preview, our region automatically, found everything. We calculate, and we have our tool path, cutting the outside of the stock. If we want to turn off our geometry preview to see the result of both without the geometry preview and the toolpath, you can see your result. Operation looks good to me, so we can now accept it. Now we're looking at our updated stock. We're trying to figure out what feature we want to cut next. Let's say we want to cut these three walls on a side cut because we're in a multi-axis machine here. So we will add another 2D iMachining operation. We will go again with feature recognition by chains. We need to switch to our Mach 1 position 2, which is coming from this side here. I will define my geometry. I'm going to turn off the tangent propagation because I need to pick just 3 specific edges here. We will leave it at that. Let's go grab our tool. I have a extended reach tool in my T2. So we will grab this. And since we're dealing with chains, we are going to just say, how far do we want to cut down to? I'm going to zoom in and say, well, I need to cut this radius, so I'm just going to pick there. As soon as you pick there, you see the modified region, or the machinable feature region that we find automatically for you, trimmed and updated and merged to the updated stock. So we can just say, yeah, this looks good. Let's calculate our toolpath. And let's go simulate this one in the new simulator. Let's see what we got. Okay, I'm going to stop it here because I can already see something. Because of the way the stock is, we can see it has to do 2 cuts because we don't have enough flute length. And then we get this kind of thin material down on the floor, which is probably, you know, one, it's going to sound bad, and two, that you always have this possibility of it, you know, of it catching in the tool and damaging our cutter. So why don't we try tackling this a different way? Now, since we have our feature recognition detection, we can just machine these 2 faces from the top side, and then we'll leave our geometry exactly alone, and let's see what SolidCAM does with updating the machinable feature. So I'm just going to come to the new point in our stock, or in our operation list. I'm going to grab these 2 faces before I create my iMachining operation, and this will add pre-select. So if I make a 2D iMachining operation, it will automatically add them to the face selection. I am going to now go grab my first tool again, which is this 20 millimeter. I'm going to calculate my operation. Looks good to me. We can see that now we've, you know, if I drag the stock up, we can see we took that funky kind of shaped stock from, you know, cutting the outside and this inside pocket, and now we've removed it. So now we open up our last operation for the side. You can see the modified region has changed. We calculate our toolpath. We'll launch our SolidCAM simulator. And the toolpath was automatically trimmed and updated to our stock. So I think that looks a lot better from my side, you know, now that I see it playing in the simulation. We will copy and paste that operation, and let's just cut the other side. So we will switch to Mach 1 position 3, which is cutting from the other side. I'll rotate the model around, pick my chaining. Once again, I'm going to turn off the constant Z, or else it would continue searching around, but we just need these three ledges right here. I'm going to go to our levels, pick my pocket depth, pick the same feature. We see the preview region updates. We find everything. And you know, we take a look at this. We see our updated stock. It's looking great. And I mean, obviously, you know, we would be deciding if we were doing roughing and finishing. We would want to probably be using multi-tool in here, but you know, we're trying to get through the presentation, not, you know, pile on a bunch of tools and a bunch of operations in our list here. So let's continue. Now that we've machined that, we have these little undercuts we have to deal with that we saw from the first operation. Did its machinable feature modification, and even though we selected this faces, it was smart enough to see that we had that undercut. So but now we need to cut these 2 little features out. We will make another 2D iMachining operation. Now we are going to pick Mach 1 position 5, which is going to bring us from this side, and we are going to use our feature recognition by chains. And what we want to do here is I know I want to machine these lines right here with side cutting. I want to do it on this side and I want to do it on this side. So I am going to pick 2 chains to do this. Normally this would be something we would have to sketch in SolidWorks and we'd have to extend it out, and we would have to make sure that we were extending it out far enough for what the previous tool did. But in our case here, we're just going to get it. Now I'm going to do point to point and just jump the tool somewhere past here, just a little bit. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Edge, 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 edge. Switch back to point, just bring the tool path out a little bit longer. It doesn't matter how long because it's going to trim it to the updated stock. I'm going to reverse it. We'll accept our geometry. And now the only thing I need to do is go grab my tool, which we have here is our little 6mm. And as we saw previously, if we're doing side cutting, we need to pick a point how far we want to cut down to. So we cut down to there, and instantly we get our machinable feature trimmed out to the stock, or extended to the stock, however it needs to do it, and we get our tool path. So there's a tool path, cutting out both of those features. We still have access to the normal verifications and stuff in SolidCAM, so we can see just our host CAD simulation. If we wanted to see it in here, see the same thing with the SolidCAM simulator too. And now what we want to do is let's just add 2 more toolpaths just to showcase some few interesting features with SolidCAM. So we also have drag and drop, and this works great with the iMachining machinable feature recognition. So we can take this first operation here, which was cutting this face, and we can just take that and drag it out to this face here, and we will automatically get the toolpath trimmed out to the stock as we like. And we also have geometry preview from the CAM tree. So if you click on the geometry, you can see exactly the face that we selected, and you can see it extended and trimmed out everywhere to machine that feature. And that can also be extended to cutting multiple faces with variable depths at the same time. So let's say we take this operation and we drag to this face, this face, this face, and this face, and let go. We have in one operation all 4 faces with their own machinable features trimmed out to the stock, and optimized toolpath with no air cutting for all 4 of those faces. And let's just go to our SolidCAM simulator and take a peek at this. We can play it with the recording button enabled, even though it'll run a little bit slower, but this will give us the ability to scroll back through and analyze any of the toolpath and review our program up to this point. And let's zoom around. We can look at it over here. So you can see this toolpath was smart. There was material left on this face because we never finished this face, so it properly extended the toolpath out to that. And the nice things with, the new simulation and the stock and the targets that you see everywhere, you can see that if we want to machine this face over here, the side face here, we have this extra chunk of material down at this bottom here, which, as a programmer, we have to decide how we want to handle that. But all these new tools make it extremely easy to understand what you're cutting. You could pick the face, and obviously it would take care of this too, but maybe another choice would be we'd want to just make the outside cutting go further when we machine that. And you have all those choices as you're going through, and you can come back and change those choices, which is probably the most important thing here, that if you were doing this in previous versions of SolidCAM, if you're creating sketches and things like that, you as the user are picking the sketch that you want to cut. You're defining your upper level and lower level. You're trying to define those based on what the previous tool cut. And we now do all those things for you automatically in the iMachining feature recognition. So the time savings that we've done in the past with the iMachining cycle time on the machine, we now get these same time savings with programming. I mean, as you can see here, I mean, this was complex geometry to select and define, and everything was just done intuitively and fast. And in the end, we always have the SolidCAM default chaining geometry to fall back on. So if you need to cut something that maybe isn't exactly on your model, you need to make a notch to touch off the tool on a probe or something on a secondary operation. You have all those tools with the normal chaining. So the feature recognition works great when you're picking off the model, but you also have the standard chaining and existing tools to do something outside of the feature recognition that isn't reflected in the model. And yeah, just to go back through and play through our simulation, I mean, the beautiful stuff here is that you can just analyze with the scroll wheel anything you want to see. And with the DVR and recording functionality of the simulation, you really can see everything that's going on. And you can also snap the toolpath to any point. So you can double snap the toolpath, and you can just single step through and take a look at what your toolpath is doing. So thank you for watching the presentation, and we very much feel that these new tools of iMachining plus the simulation are really going to make programming faster than they've ever been before.